Welcome to the Stop Ruining My Childhood podcast.
A sometimes nostalgic, sometimes cynical look back at pop culture.
Join us as we revisit movies, cartoons, and live-action TV of the 80s and 90s and ask the question...
Does this hold up, or did I just ruin my childhood?
My name is Megan.
And I'm Steve.
And today we are looking at My Little Pony.
My Little Pony.
The original 1980s cartoon TV show.
Yes.
So at another point, we might look at the movie. We might look at... There was a 90s series done right after the original.
Yep.
But we're just talking about the 80s today. And you can find that on the Paramount Network. So you can get it on Amazon Prime or just on Paramount itself.
Yes.
And before we get to My Little Pony...
we have our unsponsored snack review. And
Okay.
today's unsponsored snack review is Pez.
Yeah, we actually... I actually picked the show based on the candy this time. Because we have with us in the studio Crystal Pinkie Pie, the My Little Pony, one of the newest generations. You can collect them all. If you don't know, Pez dispensers... I'll give a little bit of fun facts about this in a second, but they have characters.
Yes.
So they have a little head on the top of the dispenser, and you click the head open, maybe, to take out the candy. I got it jammed in there. I didn't load them right. There we go. So this one says collect them all. Rainbow Dash, Crystal Rainbow Dash, Twilight Sparkle, Crystal Twilight Sparkle, Pinkie Pie, and Crystal Pinkie Pie.
Give it up, Crystal Pinkie Pie.
That's dark.
Okay, there you go. Now
I already had one.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to chomp away while I was trying to talk. So Pez, P-E-Z, if you don't know, they are little bricks that say Pez on them, and the actual logo for Pez is made out of those bricks, which I think is kind of fun. They were first marketed as a compressed peppermint in Vienna, Austria. So in 1927, their original name was Pfefferminz, which is German for peppermint.
Yeah. And
they shortened that to Pez.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of fun.
So you're not like, hey, what kind of Pfefferminz dispenser do you have?
Right. Well, they actually didn't come in the dispenser at first. So first they were round, and then around World War II, they had them almost in like an Altoids type of tin. Mm-hmm. And then they started, or before World War II, I'm sorry. And then at the Vienna Trade Fair in 1949, kind of like the World's Trade Fair, but just in that area,
yep.
Right? They started being sold in the dispensers, and those were called regulars. And then later on, they added the characters. Primarily, not surprising to me, when they expanded into the U.S.
Okay.
Because, as we know, U.S. marketers feel no compunction at all about using cartoon characters to market to children. So, basically, when they started doing this, they reintroduced remakes of the regulars, and they started adding different cartoon characters, and... they had character heads first that weren't, like, related to, like, any cartoon.
They were just, like, generic.
Yeah, and then, and that started in 1955. And now there are over 550 unique dispenser heads, but with thousands of variations. So it must be a certain type of head that they use, and then they vary it based on whatever character it is. In the 1970s, they had some historical figures as well. Betsy Ross, Daniel Boone, and Paul Revere for a bicentennial series for America.
All right.
Which I think is kind of fun. They've also had Star Wars, Orange County Choppers, NASCAR, Star Trek, Wizard of Oz, like really almost anything that you can think of. Lord of the Rings, even.
We recently went to a Star Trek tour where you could go through the entire set from the original Star Trek series, and in the gift shop they were selling a package of all the original characters Pez.
Yeah,
we should have. Pretty cool.
We probably should have gotten it. It didn't at the time. I thought of it too, but it was really neat. So there have been a number of things like that, and like I said, just about any franchise you can think of. But today we have the one for My Little Pony. So we had some cherry. How did you like it? How'd you like your little brick?
It was okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
As you know, I'm not a fan of chalky candy, like Smarties or candy necklaces. And this reminds me a lot of kind of a Smartie type, like, you know, sweet, not even a sweet tart, but like a bottle cap kind of taste.
It's a tiny bit sweeter than the Smarties.
It's a little sweeter, but it still has that kind of chalky taste to it a little bit, which is not my favorite.
Well, I will tell you that on the package, we learned that these are gluten-free, egg-free, nut-free, and peanut. Peanut and tree nut and gluten-free.
Yeah, kind of like Smarties, right? Wasn't it Smarties that had all the same thing?
Yeah, because it's just sugar and corn syrup and then flavoring. Essentially. I don't see a thing saying it's vegan, though. So I don't know. Sorry to our vegan friends out there. I'm not sure if you can have these. So, 1 out of 5. We're going to go with saddles for My Little Pony.
Okay.
1 out of 5 saddles for the snack, and 1 out of 10 for the show.
Yes.
For the snack, what do you give it? 1 out of 5.
Well, it's not great.
Okay. But the fun is in the dispenser.
I would give it a 2, but I'm going to boost it to a 3 because of the dispenser.
Okay.
The Pez dispenser saves it, because that's really the best part.
Yeah, I kind of like these a little more than I like Smarties. I'm going to give them a 4, actually. I didn't mind the chalkiness didn't bother me, and I think that the dispensers are so much fun.
Okay.
So...
Yeah!
3.5 saddles. 3.5 saddles for Pez. Yeah, I think it's a really fun candy, and it loads like a stapler, which was a little annoying, but the fun is really the regulars with the heads and the and collecting them based on whatever you like. And you can have a pop culture office like ours.
Yes.
With random crap in it, like Pez dispensers. So... now that we've had our snack, we're going to have a summary of My Little Pony. Then we'll get into a little bit of history and fun facts. And then we'll take a break and we'll get into our memories and our full review and recap. So that's our rundown of our show. So,
sure.
Steve.
So, My Little Pony is a show, it's a cartoon about a group of talking horses that live in like this fantasy world where it seems like there's like fairies and also like kind of like colorful tribbles almost from Star Trek that jump around as well. At some point, an actual girl, Megan, goes into the world and is like their caretaker and kind of like works with the ponies. And they have like a stable house where they have a lot of beds and things like that. But the whole point of it is you have this group of very colorful, theme-related ponies, and I don't know all their names or anything. I know that they're distinctive because they all have tattoos on the back of their haunches.
Yeah, those are called Cutie Marks. Like beauty marks.
I'm going to go with tattoo.
Okay.
So they have these cutie tattoos. Well, look at, we compromised.
No, we didn't.
Cutie tattoos on their haunches that, like, relate to their name somehow.
Yes.
I see that as almost a play off Care Bears.
A little bit.
I really love Care Bears, so I'm like, get your own thing, ponies. But still, I'm gonna stick with it. Yeah, and so you've got basically the ponies, and every time it's a different adventure. Like the ponies are either trying to solve a problem, or there's some sort of a, I say bad guy, but this is a very cutie kind of thing. So even the bad guy, like in the one we have, is like a traveling wizard kind of guy, right? But they do something that's not really horrible, but mostly like just kind of causes them irritation, basically, right? Gets in their way, and they have to figure out some way to solve the problem.
And work together and have friendship.
Yes, it's a very friendship-oriented, caring kind of cartoon.
Yeah.
And like I said, at one point, Meg and I think her little sister.
She has a little sister, Molly, and then a little brother as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they come into it as well. From my understanding, like I said, it was pretty popular. I know with girls. I remember. Well, we'll talk about that in memories. But there were 63 episodes in 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. Very lopsided. It was 50 episodes in the first season, 13 in the second season.
We're going to talk about that too.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so that's pretty much My Little Pony. In a quick nutshell, that's what it's really about.
Steve, I am so delighted hearing you try to explain the logic behind My Little Pony. It makes me so joyful in my heart.
Some of them fly, some of them are unicorns.
So there are unicorns, there are Pegasus ponies who have the Pegasus wings like with feathers and whatnot. There are earth ponies, which are like regular ponies, but sometimes they still have magical powers. And then there are flutter ponies, which have like butterfly wings.
Gotcha.
And then later on, I think sparkle and things like that.
You talk about this like there's a really logical set of rules for this, and I did not see that.
Yeah, I feel like you didn't understand the strata. You're like, there's a bunch of horses running around. I'm like, no, stop. And I don't want to get, we'll talk about memories in a minute. So this actually, what's fascinating to me, again, this started with toys, not surprising, right? Mm-hmm. But they had this thing called My Pretty Pony, and I did have this. It did not sell well. And I think the reason is that it looked more like a horse or a pony rather.
Was it kind of bigger and you could brush its tail?
Yeah, it was bigger.
I think I remember
you
that.
You could brush its tail and you could brush its hair and play with it. But it wasn't like we've talked about this razor blade form of marketing where you're not just selling like the doll, you're selling all the accessories.
Right.
And this didn't really have, for Hasbro, it didn't really have any accessories, right? Like you could, I don't even think it had a saddle. So there was not much that you could really do with it.
Except just brush it.
Well, you put your Barbie on top of it, like that kind of thing, which is Mattel, which I don't think Hasbro wanted you to do, but it is what it is. So that came out in 1981, and it didn't do that well, but they liked the look of it, and so that's why they made a smaller version. And when they did that, they made them, like we've talked about, with these, what they called later Cutie Marks, which is supposed to be like beauty marks, on both sides of their flanks. So they were kind of a smaller version, and then later they also had, like, babies as well. Like little baby, which I think were in one of the episodes that we saw. So the Ponies launched in 1982. The original toy line ran for 10 years, which is pretty good, from 82 to 92. And the first incarnation kind of peaked in about 1990. There was not a lot of competition for it, and that's why they think it's one of the reasons it kind of did, like, so well.
Okay.
The thing was, like we've talked about with some of these other toys, that here, so just to dip into my memories real quickly, they had some accessories. A lot of that was like carrier cases, because you were collecting all of these different ponies, and like a stable and things like that. But they had Megan, Molly, her little sister, and I think Danny as well, although I don't know that I had that one. And then they had all of the ponies, and each year that the show was on, they'd add more characters.
Right.
Which we've seen over and over, right? So they start with, like, Butterscotch, Minty, Cotton Candy, Blossom. Then they added Bowtie, Applejack, Seashell, Bubbles, like all of these things. They later had Rainbow Ponies, Sea Ponies, and then they had some play and kind of care sets. Then they added babies for some of those as well. So they really tried to, not so much because the horses were so small, have as many accessories, but they did try to keep coming out with new ones. And it was a lot like kind of a Pokemon thing, like gotta get them all.
They battled?
No, they didn't battle. Well,
okay.
I guess depending on how you played with them.
You almost had me for a second.
Yeah. So the actual cartoon which is fascinating to me, because I did not realize that the movie came first.
Okay.
Unlike all of the other things where they have a show and they build up and then they do a movie.
Right.
They did the movie first, and then they had a show called My Little Pony and Friends. So what they would do, that's why the episodes, we were wondering why they were so short.
Yeah.
And Steve and I were trying to figure out, like, would they show 2 of them at a time? Because a lot of cartoons did that.
They were like 10 or 11 minutes.
Yeah, but it was kind of like, I don't know if you remember.
So they probably had the first half with 15 minutes with commercial was My Little Pony, and then they had like a different cartoon tacked on, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And that kind of varied. So it's a little different than, I was going to say, Garfield and Friends, where half of it was Garfield and then half of it was the Barnyard characters,
right.
If you remember that show. This one had a couple different cartoons that took that second slot. Okay. But none of them were as popular as My Little Pony, although we can, watch some of them later.
Right.
But some of the ponies would have like different features as well. So I mentioned the wings. Some of them would have like jeweled eyes. Some of them would have they'd come out with like a different color, a different cutie mark, but you can kind of see how like it would be easy to use the same mold each time.
Right.
Because you only need one basic mold, maybe 2 or 3 if you have like a unicorn horn or Pegasus wings or whatever.
Yeah, it was always the same mold, mostly the same mold. It was the 3 legs and the 1 leg up a little bit.
Right, yeah, exactly. So this ran, as Steve said, the original was from 86 to 87, and then they had kind of a little bit of a reboot in 1992 because the toys were flagging in sales.
Okay.
And then it didn't come back, which is fascinating to me, until 2010. So, like, a little bit of a gap, but not such a big gap. That was My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, which we'll talk about in just a second. They had some holiday specials, and really, since 2010, it's pretty much been, like, different iterations every year since then.
Okay.
It has a little more of, like, an anime look now, but even My Little Pony Make Your Mark, I think that's on Netflix. They had others that were on Discovery Family. They had some on the Hub Network, the Disney Channel, like different things of that kind of nature. It's also surprising to me that it only lasted 2 seasons, the original, because I remember it being on all the time. But they must have done it kind of like He-Man, where they just like made all those episodes and then they just like
they just probably showed them after school or whatever. And once they went into syndication, that was I wonder if that's why they had such a heavy first season, was to get it into syndication.
Probably. And also they only were doing, like I said, 15-minute episodes.
Right.
The movie, though, I have to read this to you because we're not talking about really the movie, but listen to who did the voices for the movie. Danny DeVito, Madeline Kahn, Cloris Leachman, Rhea Perlman, and Tony Randall.
Really? They
had a lot, like they paid a lot of money to get all of those people for that show. So the Friendship is Magic to me is the most interesting piece of this, because this is where the bronies come in. The bros, the dudes who like My Little Pony. So apparently that fandom kind of started out ironically, but the people who did the relaunch also worked on Powerpuff Girls and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, which I think you can see in the visual aspect of it. Mm-hmm. It looks a lot like Powerpuff Girls. They still wanted to target younger girls as like kind of their target demographic, but they tried to create characters that kind of challenge some of like the stereotypical norms of some of the girlier aspects of the original show. Okay. And they tried to be a little bit more like woke and liberal about it, I guess. So we have people who sort of were making fun of it and then kind of got into it and had this fandom, and it's known for a lot of like writing like fan fiction, music, art, like all kind of based around some of these characters and around this show. And for many of them, I guess they were people who kind of liked it when they were kids but weren't really allowed to say that they liked it, if that makes sense. And some of it is adult themed, but really not all of it, which surprised me. Like there's more that's just like, these are nice, wholesome stories about friendship and taking care of each other and helping the world be a better place, I guess. That kind of thing. it's interesting to me that it went so long, given how it started as a toy line, and that it kind of found like a second generation of fans, and that a lot of kids now still like it. I don't know, the toys look a little bit different. They look a little bit more like the contemporary show that's on the air now. But yeah, that's it. So that's the fun facts.
Okay.
So we're going to come back, and when we do, we will talk about our memories. But for now, enjoy this promo for another independent podcast that we enjoy.
Hey everyone, Nick here from the S1E1 podcast. Each week, we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and ignoring anything we may know about the future run of that series, decide if it's a show that we want to greenlight or cancel.
We very seriously dissect TV shows for no reason at all.
I gotta pee. Fucking old-timey. I got a Frankenstein on my show. So do I. You know what I'm
You should know, because right now you're dressed like a London DJ. Moving forward, unless there's anything else depressing about my life you want to bring up.
That's impressive to find that many bad shows.
Who's Boner? I don't even know what a Banksy is.
Catch us each week wherever you listen to podcasts, and visit us at s1e1pod.com for links to everywhere you can find us.
All right, everybody, welcome back. My name is Megan.
And I'm Steve.
In case you forgot, or this is your first time with us. Steve, what are your memories of My Little Pony? Did Kevin have these? Because I know he was younger. Sometimes you guys got hand-me-down toys.
No. I remember My Little Ponies. I remember seeing a lot of their commercials. Mm-hmm. Because they, as you mentioned before, they did do a lot of different ones. I don't recall ever watching the cartoon. I was probably aware it was on, but it was just not my thing, obviously, as we've talked about before. I think we might have had one or two of the toys, but it was like, we had a cousin who was my age, who's a girl.
Yeah.
And she had some, I think, when we played at her house, and we were like, oh, okay, they're colorful, they're kind of, that they're decent. So, plus at the time, My Little Pony kind of was trying to make a push for boys because it was a girl toy.
Right.
And so I don't know if they were initially doing this, but they had done I don't know if they're boy horses or boy ponies, but they had a few that were like blue and green and a little bit less pastel-y.
Yeah.
And so I think we had one or two of those that we might have gotten or someone bought for us or something like that. We might have gotten for when my cousin was over playing.
I was gonna say your mom would have stuff for
probably,
your cousin.
yeah, I don't know, but so I remember having one or two of them. I remember them being like a medium plastic, like not hard but not soft either.
Yeah, exactly.
And they had that plastic smell like Cabbage Patch Kid faces.
Yes.
And, again, I remember the different colors. I remember the butt tattoos. I remember, some of them had wings, things like that. But we weren't really into them. The downfall of the My Little Pony, I think, in our household at least, is if you don't have a lot of something. Like I've mentioned before, we had pretty much all the G.I. Joes. Hundreds of them. We had most of the Transformers, right? So if you didn't have all of something, then it really had to be interconnective.
Right.
And My Little Ponies didn't match up with G.I. Joes or Transformers, so you really couldn't play with them with something else. And so I think we lost interest fairly quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this, for me, I would have been like 6 when it launched. And I remember watching the movie. I remember the song because it's annoying more than the TV show. I liked, obviously, the fact that the girl in the show was called Megan. I did not like that she was blonde. I didn't care for that. I want Megans should look like Megan.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of felt about it. But
Either
it's
redhead Megans or no Megans.
Exactly. But look, it is what it is. But yeah, I felt like I felt like that was kind of cool, but I was obsessed with collecting My Little Ponies. And I know for a fact, I had the carrying case. They had carrying cases for Barbie too, but it was probably like, I don't know, maybe 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet high. It had like a little handle, like a suitcase, and it had little spots for all of them, like a stable. And I know that one of them held like about 30, I want to say, horses, and I had 2 cases.
Wow.
And I would bring them over to my cousin's house, and she had some, and then there would just be horses everywhere.
Okay.
My 2 cousins, also loved it because they're also my age.
Were they, I don't remember, were they very expensive?
No, they weren't. So I think that was one of the things, because from my recollection, I want to say probably each one maybe cost like $2 or $3.
Okay, so they weren't. That's my G.I. Joes when they first came out when I was a kid were like $3, $4.
Right.
Now I think they're like $7 or $8 a piece,
Right.
but still.
But yeah, I think that they were only $2 or $3.
Yeah.
And you also had, I know I had some of these too, like the knockoff versions that were only like $1.
There was knockoff My Little Ponies.
Yeah, like you have knockoff Barbies as well that you get at like the cheaper store.
Yeah.
Or the cheaper section of
They're like
the...
fun, tiny equestrians.
Yeah, they would be called like tiny horses or something like that. I know I had some. The plastic wasn't quite there, but for
the pose was a little off.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, the eyes weren't the same.
I
but,
feel like
yeah.
they didn't get a fair shake. Fun, tiny horses. Fun, tiny horses. I feel like that.
You can ride us anywhere.
We're not quite like the ponies.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so it was just a lot of fun, and I just remember Care Bears was a big thing too, but those were stuffed animals and they cost a lot more.
Yeah,
so
Care Bears were a little more expensive.
I knew a few girls who were friends of mine who had like a lot of Care Bears, but I think I just had the one.
Yeah.
And but My Little Pony, the great thing was the carrying cases, because you could take them to your friend's house or your cousin's house or the park or whatever, and play with them wherever you wanted to. And I had a little Megan doll and a little Molly as well.
I didn't realize they made those.
Yeah. Little things to play
so
with.
they're easier to collect when they're not as expensive. They're not like a Cabbage Patch.
No.
Which at one point, I think when we each had one. And I think they were like $100 almost.
I actually had an original Cabbage Patch with a cloth head.
Oh.
And I wish that I still had it.
Yeah, we did not have that.
Before they made them with plastic heads, they had original had a cloth head. And I don't know what happened to it. Probably I just tossed
your ponies? Did your mom throw them out?
No, I don't think she threw them out. I think I outgrew them. And then the show wasn't on, right? And then I think my mom, a lot of times, she was a speech language pathologist, so she took a lot of toys to school, and she'd sometimes divvy them up for the classroom teachers.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes she'd use some of them because it's easier for kids to try to talk to you and do speech if they're playing.
Yeah.
And so that's basically what happened. Sometimes some of our toys like that too would go to church. Like our church had a preschool, so a lot of times we'd go.
That's what I was wondering, only because I've been to your parents' house and you don't have a lot of toys, whereas my mom kept everything. Like my brother's kids played with the toys we played with.
Well, my parents retired, they downsized as well.
Right.
So a lot of that stuff had to go.
Yeah, like my nephew plays with our G.I. Joes that we have.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Because she kept everything.
Yeah. So those are some of our memories. Let's get into the actual show. I'm going to be honest, this is the least favorite part of the podcast.
So we did 3 episodes since they were so short.
We sure did.
And none of them were a full story because they flow together because they're only 10 or 11 minutes. So they all are to be continued kind of things.
Yeah, we've seen this a lot, and I really didn't realize until we did this show how often this was used, because in adult shows at this point in the 80s, all the shows are one-off stories for the most part. They're problem, complication, solution kind of thing. The first 10 episodes were all like a 10-part, almost like a sequel to the movie.
Right. So we started off with the pilot, just to see how it would go. And the pilot had, these are the horses: Surprise, Baby Cuddles,
Yes.
Cupcake,
Yeah.
Gusty, and Spike the Dragon, who you did not mention yet in any of your talks. Did you have Spike the Dragon?
I didn't. I know
Did they sell him?
I think my cousin Sarah or my cousin Lindsay had.
Why are these horses hanging out with a dragon?
Because it's Ponyland and it's all magical.
Okay.
And also, you forgot Rose Dust, the queen of the Flutter.
I didn't get to her yet.
I can't even say it without laughing.
Rose Dust is the queen of the Flutter Ponies. I wrote that down.
We also had Bush Woolies, which are the things that look like tribbles.
Yes.
And also kind of, remember the Fry Kids from McDonald's?
Yeah,
they kind of looked like that.
I put was it Bush Willies?
Woolies.
I had Bush Bullies.
No, I think it was Woolly.
Okay, and I put colored hairballs, question mark? So basically, you have these, like, witches.
Yes.
It's this one witch, and her name is, I wrote it down here, Hydia.
Yeah.
And her 2 daughters. And they're, I guess, the bad guys. They're witches, but they dressed them like hillbillies?
Yeah,
Are they trying to make them, like, go with the horse theme, maybe? And they're supposed to be more country witches?
Don't know. It's interesting because they're not. It's very clearly supposed to, like, this is a show that is aimed at, like, 3 to 7-year-olds. So nothing is scary, right?
Right.
Whereas, like, He-Man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we talked about before, that's more like 8 to 12. So this I found a lot harder to watch than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
For that exact reason, because it's just aimed at such a young demographic, and the villains are ridiculous.
Yeah, so the plot is you meet the ponies, you meet the witches. Mm-hmm. The ponies are on their way to go visit the Flutter Ponies.
Right.
So this must have all been either from the movie or just the toys were out already. Because it's the pilot and we already have Flutter Ponies. But Cupcake has baked a cake. I guess that's her thing.
Hence the name.
She wanted everyone to know, which is why she tattooed cupcakes on her butt.
She didn't tattoo that. It's like a birthmark.
Is Spike the tattoo artist?
No, it's supposed to be...
I'm trying to put this together.
It's supposed to be a beauty mark. That's why it's called a cutie mark.
Oh, okay. I have a couple cutie marks too, but they cost me money.
Stop it. You have tattoos, and
right.
now it sounds weird.
Okay.
I don't like it.
So they're
silly.
bringing this cake on their way to the Flutter Ponies,
right.
And the witches try to lasso them and capture the ponies. I'm not sure why. I don't think they mention why they want to capture the ponies.
They want to ruin the day and take the Power Stone from Flutter Valley.
I see that they go for that eventually, but originally they're just trying to capture the ponies to ruin the day. This is what I was talking about earlier. There's no real malice. It's more like they're inconveniencing the ponies.
Yeah.
So they lasso a few of them who freak out, but then the Flutter Ponies save them. They come to the rescue.
Yeah.
The Flutter Ponies bring them to Queen Rose Dust, and they sing the song From the Sun is the name of the song. Each of these have a little musical number.
Yeah, because, so the Queen Rose Dust declares, I can't do this without laughing. Queen Rose Dust declares it Sunshine Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you missed that part.
I may have missed it.
She was like, I am Rose Dust, Queen of the Flutter Ponies, and I declare today Sunshine Tuesday, because they give her the cake that's fallen out.
That does sound right. I may not have missed it. I don't know. As you know, I was furiously trying to take down notes to capture all of the complicated plot.
Well, you got a lot of the names that I didn't. But yeah, Hydia yells at her 2 daughters. Draggle is one of them, or Draggle.
Okay.
And I didn't catch the name of the other.
Me neither.
It's very classic, like 1, 2... very thin and 1 very chunky.
Yes.
Right? And she chases them around with a wooden spoon, which is abusive.
Yeah. And the thin one is really clumsy and dumb. And the
Yeah.
chunky girl is the smarter daughter.
Yeah, and they're always yelling at each other.
Right.
It's like Wicked Stepsister kind of situation. Yeah, they try to lasso them, they get put in the mud pit. And then they try to read a magic book, but they can't really read it.
Yeah.
And they can't read it in time. So it's supposed to be showing you that, like, they're not dangerous because they're stupid. So they're supposed to be funny.
They're going after the Sunstone.
Yeah. And
but it ends there.
Well, no.
You don't actually see them go get it because it's going to be in the next episode.
In the next episode. But let's talk about this for a second, because what was surprising to me that I did not remember, and I don't know whether my parents, if they had actually watched this show, which it's not a show that adults can take for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would have been allowed to watch this.
Because they're pagans.
Because it's very New Age. Yeah, it's very pagan New Age, and I grew up in a Christian household, so it was like they start singing, "From the sun comes light and power, flowers flower, Maytime," and they start talking about fruit and there's like thunder drums, and they start dancing in a circle around the sunstone, and it is very much like a pagan May Day celebration.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, that was interesting to me.
I mean, it is a fantasy world.
No, it's a fantasy world, I get that, but it's just
with bush woolies.
I'm not...
And dragons.
I'm not saying that it's, like, devilish. I'm just saying that in the 80s, especially during, like, the satanic panic and all that, I'm surprised that they didn't get flack for this kind of thing.
Right.
And probably because no adults were watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Because adults were like, Satan's getting into our households through our TVs and through evil shows and movies
and
like
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons and Friday the 13th. And then here's the ponies doing like a pagan ritual around a stone that starts glowing as they're dancing and singing. And nobody's gonna talk about that or care. It's just interesting to me. So that kind of ended the first episode. This is going to be probably a shorter thing because these episodes were so short.
They were. So the second episode we watched, we went to episode 11.
This was your pick,
yep.
Right? Yeah.
This was the Ghost of Paradise Estate.
Part 1.
Part 1, out of a lot of parts, I think.
Yeah.
Now we have Megan.
Yep.
And they have Paradise Estate, which is like, I don't know, it seems like it's her house.
Yeah, so I had to look this up because I could not remember. And apparently, to explain, I love 80s explanations of TV shows because nothing makes sense. Megan has the rainbow locket. So in the movie, they have to go to the keeper of the rainbow locket to get help against whatever bad guys are in the movie.
Okay.
And the rainbow locket allows Megan, and by extension her younger siblings, to travel into Ponyland.
Okay.
So this is her house, but only when she's at Ponyland.
So that's my thing, though. First off, this is very large, okay, this estate.
Yeah.
And because at one point the ponies are like, oh, we'll stay over tonight. And there's like 12 beds for the ponies, right? And it's multi-room. It's a large estate. And Megan's a young girl to own her own estate.
Yeah.
I know, even in the 80s when they were giving real estate away, I feel like this is it was really pushing my sense of disbelief.
Now, I don't believe that I have this, but I think that my cousin did. And they had I'll show you. They had a house. This was one of the accessories.
That does look like the estate.
So it's the two sides of the estate, and then like a pool in the middle, and then furniture for the ponies to sit on.
It looks very southwestern.
Yeah, a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Which was interesting.
I mean, it's got a pink roof, but it's a little bit like adobe, and I think they came apart so that it was like 4 sections, if I remember the right.
So basically, they decide to stay over at Megan's with Megan, and at that point, it's just Megan and her sister who put them to bed. Mm-hmm. And then a ghost comes into their room and first messes with baby Heartthrob. I want to get this. I want to give this the respect it deserves.
I can't deal with it.
The ghost messes with baby Heartthrob, who wakes up everyone else. Mm-hmm. And they're like, baby Heartthrob, just go to bed. But then the ghost comes back out and messes with all the ponies. And they all see it, so one of the ponies runs to get Megan.
Right.
And the other ponies start throwing pillows at the ghost. But
Which
the
is
ghost
hilarious.
can't be hit by pillows. Because first, they pass through, but also the ghost can turn into things.
Right. So the ghost makes herself into like a donut hole almost. So all the pillows are passing through her. It was a little bit like the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, where Lucy sees the fawn in the magical world, but nobody believes her at first. And then Megan comes in, and she's mad that they've been having a pillow fight. Also, they go to get Megan, and Megan and Molly they're sitting there in what look like Snuggies, like big blankets, reading books.
Yeah, because that's what little kids think parents do after they go to bed.
You're right.
So that's what they did.
You're right. But it's also encouraging reading.
That's true. So
that's
I like
good.
That. And so to get them to go back to sleep, this is where Megan and Molly sing "It's All in Your Imagination."
Yeah, except
which
it's
is the
not.
song here. And then they try to go back to bed. Then the ghost attacks again. They see it as well.
Right.
This wakes up the brother, and in my initial note I wrote to myself is, who's the boy who sleeps in a baseball cap in bed?
Yeah.
And then I must have picked up, because I wrote next to that, Danny builds a Rube Goldberg machine to catch the ghost.
Yes, I put that too. That's hilarious because he's trying to set up traps, and then the dragon Spike accidentally sets them all off.
Oh yeah.
Megan sees the ghost, and that's basically where it ends. Now I looked it up, and it's not a ghost; it's a shape-shifting bird.
Oh well, that seems a lot more plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there are no such things as ghosts, but
shape-shifting birds. Yeah.
I can't. I'm not going to make it through this podcast.
Okay.
So our third
episode.
This was my pick. Episode 45, Revolt of Paradise Estate. So we're back on Paradise Estate.
Yeah.
This time, Megan's not there. So I don't know if she's back on Earth for a bit or what.
They're taking care of the place for her. Over the last 31 episodes, or 34 episodes, the place has really fallen junk.
Yeah.
It's really, there's cracks in the wall. They have not done a good job. I'm going to let you in on a secret. They should have told Megan this ahead of time. Don't leave horses in charge of your house.
Well, they don't have opposable thumbs.
They're also farm animals. They don't take care of houses well, right?
And as we know from living on our street, they poop wherever they feel like it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the place is a mess. So they decide, so it starts off with two ponies, Paradise and Sweet Stuff, who we have not talked about either of these yet.
Now, I know for a fact I had Paradise, because Paradise Cutie Mark is like palm trees. That's one of the ones I had.
Right, okay, yes,
And
it was.
I
And
think,
Paradise was like yellow?
Yeah, and I think I had one of the babies as well. I think I might have had baby Snuggles, because they were a little bit smaller than the regular size ponies.
Okay. So, anyway, Paradise and Sweet Stuff are trying to fix up the estate.
Yeah, what's interesting to me, this was something I noticed, that not the first episode so much, but the second and third episode. You have in the second episode we watched Megan and kind of Molly, but not as much. But Megan's really like the mom, taking care of them. And you have this idea that like kids could maybe be responsible, right? And here you have two ponies trying to kind of take on some responsibility because their mom is gone. Megan, their caretaker's gone.
Right.
And that was interesting to me. They very quickly realized that it's hard and boring.
Also,
as they're trying to fix things. They
Paradise says we need decent tools.
Right.
Which is a good observation, but I wrote, it's a poor carpenter that blames their tools, Paradise.
And they keep trying, but what's hilarious is that all of this does come from the fact that they have hooves and not hands.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to put tiles on the roof, and then they hit the tiles and all the tiles fall off the roof because they don't have hands.
They're trying to patch sheetrock, and they have hooves.
Yeah.
Like, again, I blame Megan for this.
I kind of do, too.
She should have, like, hired a caretaker.
Yeah. We have a song while they're trying to fix things up, right? And then
that goes
Oh, no, I'm
after.
sorry, that's later.
They meet a traveling salesman who's obviously a goblin.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Big time a goblin. And he sells them magic paint.
Well, he gives it to them.
That's right. And that should be your first red flag.
Right. So they go to get better tools. they meet up with a goblin peddler who also reminded me of the creepy peddler from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes.
Nobody ever comes in and nobody ever goes out. So he tells them that it's magic paint. They start painting things, and the things are fixed right away. Magically.
And then they come
come to life.
So while they're doing this and fixing up the place, they're singing the song A Fresh Coat of Paint.
Yeah.
Because all you need is a fresh coat of paint.
Yeah. These are not the songs from Gem, by the way.
No, they are not.
And they're
by
not
any
the
means.
songs from Alvin and the Chipmunks.
No.
These are... I don't even know how... Well, I mean, again, they're for, like, 3-year-olds. So
Yeah.
that was my issue with the
These
song.
songs don't deserve to hold the sheet music of Gem songs.
That's a good way to put it, honestly. So they come to life, and you'll notice that they have eyes, and sometimes their eyebrows are pointed down, so you know that something's not right.
Yeah.
But at first, they're kind of helping them out, right? And then they turn on them. And then you have what can only be described as narcissistic gaslighting from couches and curtains and bakery items.
Yes.
Where they're like, work harder. You're not doing it right. You don't know how to do anything. So one of the ponies is trying to garden, and the watering can turns on her and is like, you don't know how to water right.
Yeah,
You're going
it's
to
like,
drown the plant.
They don't need any more water. That one's fine.
I've already taken care of it.
Yeah.
You stupid idiot.
And then they basically, all of the now animate objects, toss the ponies out of the house.
Okay, except, and this is the point, I wish that I could have found out what happened. Because the one thing that seems to be kind is the pram, the baby pram.
Yes.
That
Who
Baby Cuddles goes, Pram, you're my very best friend. And the pram goes, I love you too, Baby Cuddles. And then it rocks Baby Cuddles. And then Baby Cuddles has to leave and it's like, no! And the pram's like, Baby Cuddles, I love you! And it's like a baby being ripped out of its mother's arms.
And Baby Cuddles doesn't like leaving either.
No! They just want to do best friend times. And it's so sad. Oh my goodness.
And that's where this episode ends, after everyone's been thrown out of the house.
Yeah, so that's basically it.
By the house.
Baby Cuddles is ripped away from her beloved Pram, who's apparently her best friend, and all of the other ponies have been kicked out. And I'm guessing in part 2, Megan has to come back to fix everything, because that's what Megans do.
Oh, okay.
We fix everything all the time. Yeah. So that was basically it. Those were the 3 episodes. We could have made the choice to watch more, and we definitely chose not to.
Yeah, I mean, we could have squeezed in another one, I'm assuming, since they were only like 11 minutes long.
Listen, the last one felt like it was 20. I can't even... Yeah. So, let's talk about reception. I mean, obviously this made a little bit of a comeback. Did any critics like this show?
Well, as we mentioned before, it was on for 50 episodes and only 13 the second. IMDb has given it a 5.5.
Okay.
So that's out of 10, so about half for this. But as we also mentioned, it had a pretty strong following, especially later when some of the remakes came out, like Friendship is Magic. Right. They got kind of a cult following a little bit, which was pretty good too. And they went into syndication, so it was a lot in syndication. There was a number of movies that went to VHS.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Afterwards as well, which was pretty good. So, again, we're focusing kind of here on the cartoon itself, right? But there was My Little Pony, The Great Rainbow Caper, My Little Pony and Other Friends, My Little Pony Bright Lights,
Okay.
My Little Pony The Would-Be Dragon Slayer and Spike's Search,
All right.
and My Little Pony The Return of Tambalan.
Oh, dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
Maybe that's from the movie. We're not sure.
We're not sure.
Yeah, so that's how other people felt about it. How did we feel about it? Oh, gosh. All right.
I mean, it's colorful. It's friendly, I guess. But it just wasn't my thing. It was very confusing to me.
Yeah.
I had trouble following I'm going to say plot. Generously, I'm going to say that.
Let me ask you this. Did you feel kind of about this the way I felt about Transformers? Like, not knowing really the background and stuff with Transformers, I was really confused because there were so many characters.
Yeah, probably. I guess so. Yeah, so, I mean, if I'm going to rate it, I guess I would have to give it 2.
Okay.
2. I feel like we should have gone with butt tattoos, but we'll go saddles. 2 saddles.
So I'm going to say, I thought about initially giving it a 2 or a 3 as well. I'm actually going to go with a 4 on this, and I'll tell you why. My issue, and I have not seen the newer one, when we do the movie, maybe we'll watch one of the newer ones. Sometime we'll do the movie, not soon, because I can't deal with it. But when I watch stuff for kids now, it's very didactic. It's interesting to me, and I think I've mentioned this before, that kids' books have become more imaginative, but a lot of children's programming for kids this age, the 3 to 7-year-old market as opposed to the 8 to 12, they really have tried to sanitize it so much that it's just teaching them a lesson, and that's it. And so I did feel the same way I felt about He-Man, although now that we've watched some cartoons, I would give He-Man a much higher rating than I gave it before. I think I gave it a 6, and I think it deserves like an 8.
My nemesis Cody will be happy with
that. But I think that the thing with My Little Pony that I did enjoy is that it is imaginative. It is bringing kids into a world. There are underlying themes of friendship and goodness and all of that, like being kind and that kind of thing, but that's not like... From the episodes we watched, at least, it's not like that's the message.
Right.
Like, there's not a message to each one of these episodes. It's just kind of a creative, beautiful world. Now, having said that, my childhood has been ruined. Because, man, it felt slow even though it was 11 minutes. The beats are slow. The takes are slow. It's not like G.I. Joe where there's a lot of fast cuts, different angles. The music, as we said, it's not Jem, it's not Alvin and the Chipmunks. It was very annoying. Would I let a child watch this? No, I wouldn't. And I'll tell you why. Because I don't want to hear those songs all the time. Because they are very catchy. Mm-hmm. Like, one of them was stuck in my head for 2 days, and it drove me bananas. So, having said all that, the nostalgia of it and the world that they created... I can't give it a 4. I'll give it a 3. So yeah, I'm going to go with a 3, a lot like Strawberry Shortcake. So... Yeah! 2.5 saddles. Oh.
I'm sorry, My Little Pony.
I
tried my hardest to understand your twisted, odd lure, but I just can't do it.
I tried my hardest to enjoy your songs, but that was never going to happen. Never, never. So, now we come to my favorite segment. What is Steve willing to watch?
Oh boy.
Our next show is Salute Your Shorts. And there are not many episodes of this.
I've never seen it, so...
So, I'm going to pick randomly an episode from season 1. And then I'll read you the ones from season 2 because there's only like 5 of them, 5 or 6. Okay? From what I can remember, Salute Your Shorts was on Nickelodeon. It ran in the summers, and it's kind of, from what I can remember, kind of like Saved by the Bell, but at camp.
Okay.
So, my episode is going to be episode 4, The Wrath of Khan Jr. Dr. Khan's rambunctious niece, Ellen, comes to visit camp and wreaks havoc with her high-energy pranks. I picked it because of the name, Wrath of Khan.
Okay.
That's my only reason. So from season 2, here are your choices. The First Day, Michael arrives at Camp Anawana and becomes very popular. Budnick forces Michael and Sponge to join a secret club along with him and Donkey Lips.
Okay.
I forgot about the names.
I have no idea who these people are, so...
The ghost story. Budnick tells the gang a ghost story about the camp's old custodian, Zeke. He says that whoever touches Zeke's plunger will have nightmares and be haunted by Zeke. Episode 3, Telly and Dinah. At the girls' bunk, Telly and Dinah each try to bribe ZZ to vote them in as bunk chief. All the boys must do prep work for the Indian Council dinner. Ready?
Yep.
Episode 5, Cheeseburgers in Paradise. In order to win a lobster dinner, Sponge and Donkey Lips enter the wrestling tournament. One is too light to wrestle and one is too heavy. And episode 6, Telly and the basketball team. The gang forms a basketball team that must play in a small camp tournament to earn the privilege of representing Camp Anawana in a bigger basketball tournament. So, we have first day, ghost story, girls' bunk versus the guys' bunk, and Cheeseburgers in Paradise, and basketball team.
All right, I'm going to go with Ghost Story.
Okay.
To continue the trend.
Oh, that's true.
I did Ghost for Quantum Leap, Ghost for My Little Pony, and now we're going to roll with Ghost for Salute Your Shorts.
And also Ghost for Field of Dreams.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So this is week
this
4.
Is Ghost Summer.
With the ghosts.
For
oh
Steve's
my
choices.
Goodness. We should have done Ghostbusters. But we're not. After I almost called it Camp Anawana. After Salute Your Shorts, we're going to be doing our other summer pick, which is another camp theme for the summer. And that is Camp Nowhere. Super excited about that. And then
that wraps up our movie, right?
Yeah, that wraps up our cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start a new cycle with Scooby-Doo for our cartoon. I don't know if we'll watch the original 60s one because it was still on when we were kids, or if we'll try to find the new adventures of Scooby-Doo with Scrappy and all that. But one of them, yeah, we're looking forward to it. So that's it. Please remember to like, subscribe, follow, and leave us comments on our Facebook page. That's really where we interact with people the most.
Yep. If you have suggestions, it can happen there too. We've taken some suggestions already.
Yeah, exactly. So we're super excited and we hope to see you there. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye. This podcast is supported by its creators
and listeners like you.
Help keep our show ad-free by visiting our website, stopruiningmychildhood.com.
There you can find links to our social media.
And this very podcast you're currently listening to.
Both Megan and I are authors, and you can find links to our books on our About page.
And on our Watch With Us page, you can find videos and links for all the shows and movies we discuss on the podcast.
And more importantly, links to buy the nostalgic snacks we review as well.
We also post bonus content about once a month.
So like, subscribe, and follow.
For a small independent podcast like ours, it really does make a difference. Thanks.